Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on programming and show you how to think like a coder, even if you've never touched a line of code in your entire life.
You know, it might seem like total magic, but really, at its core, it's all about solving puzzles. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Learn how to crack those puzzles.
So to do that, we're actually going to use a computer science exam as our puzzle box. It's the perfect way to learn how to think like a programmer. All right, let's dive right in.
Okay, our first challenge. Think of this one as being a code detective. We've got a piece of code here that's totally broken, and our job, our mission, is to hunt down all the errors and get it working again.
So, check this out. On the left, that's our buggy code. And on the right, that's the star pyramid it's supposed to make. Clearly, something's wrong. The goal is clear, but the path, well, it's a little broken. So let's start the investigation.
All right, here's pro tip number 1 for you. When you're looking for a mistake, where do you start? Right at the beginning, always. And boom, right away we hit our first problem. See, a key rule in a lot of programming languages is how you name things, and that leads us right to our first clue.
Okay, so take a look. The code tries to start a variable with the number 4. That is a huge no-no in JavaScript. Variable names have to begin with a letter or an underscore, never a number. It's just one of those fundamental rules you gotta know.
So the fix is actually super simple. You just flip it. And that, right there, illustrates our first fix brilliantly. Now the program can actually store the number of rows it needs to work with. See? Simple, once you know the rule.
But hold on, we're not done yet. We've got more bugs to squash. The loop's condition is wrong. It's going in the wrong direction. The logic inside that loop for printing the stars, totally flawed. And then there's a classic, simple typo in a function name. Case sensitivity is a huge deal in coding. Every little detail matters.
And with all those bugs fixed, the code now runs perfectly to produce that beautiful pyramid. Ah, the sweet satisfaction of debugging. Not bad for a code detective, right?
All right, so we've fixed some code. Now let's move on to our next challenge and see how this builds from fixing something to creating something totally new.
So this time, the task is to build a personal portfolio web page, and then we're going to style it. We're going from a totally blank page to a functional website. And that means using 2 key languages, HTML for the structure, think of it like the bones, and CSS for the style.
Yeah, so think of HTML as the skeleton of the web page. These little things called tags, like a header for your name, navigation for your links, an image tag for a picture, they're the building blocks that define all the different parts of the site. It's all about that raw structure.
Now, a plain HTML page works, sure, but it's not exactly pretty, right? It's just black and white text. That's where CSS comes in. So let's add some style. The challenge is simple. Make those table headers light blue. And here's another pro tip for you. You target the elements, then you declare the style. What's really cool here is how a single, super simple line of code can instantly change how our page looks. You're just telling the browser, hey, find every table header and make it light blue. That's it. And bam, just like that, the headers are transformed. This is the power of CSS. It's all about separating the structure from the style, which honestly makes building and updating websites so much easier.
Okay, on to our third challenge. And this one is absolutely crucial. Before you write a single line of code, every great programmer starts with a plan. It's that simple. Now here we're comparing 2 planning tools. You've got a concept map which shows how different ideas are related, and then you have a flowchart which is all about a step-by-step process. So these are 2 totally different ways of thinking, right? One is about connections, the other is all about sequence. So for this, let's try to plan out an ATM withdrawal using a flowchart. Think of it like a recipe for a program. We're going to map out every single step the machine needs to take to give you your cash.
Okay, so this is what we call the happy path. It's the ideal scenario, right? You start, you insert your card, you enter the correct PIN, you select an amount, you get your cash, and you're done. Everything goes perfectly from start to finish.
But what happens if the PIN is wrong? Yeah, life isn't always the happy path, is it? A good plan, a really good plan, has to account for errors. And this is where the flowchart's decision-making power really shines.
Right, this is the error path. If the PIN is wrong, the program checks how many tries you have left. If you still have some, it lets you re-enter the PIN. But if you're out of tries, it just ends the whole transaction. This kind of branching logic is absolutely fundamental to programming. It's how you tell the machine to handle different situations without crashing.
So let's recap.
We've acted as a detective, an architect, and a planner. We went from fixing problems to building something new, and then to planning out the whole process before we even started.
And that brings us to the 3 core skills of a programmer: debugging, finding and fixing problems; building, creating something new from the ground up; and planning, visualizing the whole process first. But you know what? These 3 skills are not just for coding. They are an incredibly powerful framework for solving pretty much any kind of problem.
So how could you use this mindset of a detective, an architect, and a planner to tackle a challenge in your own life? That's our explainer for today, because the real takeaway here is that learning to code is so much more than just learning a new language. It's really about learning a new way to think, and that is a game changer.